This podcast, Fresh Stories, is brought to you by Windows, Doors, and More.
It's gonna be fresh.
What's up, everyone? I'm Josh Rains, and this is our first episode of Fresh Stories. And I had to get a guest that was fresher than fresh.
Let's go.
My guy, Canvas. What up,
What's
Canvas?
up, dude?
Dude, thank you for joining me, man, on
Hey.
this first ever podcast.
Listen, if you're not first, you're last.
That's right. And the
Okay.
last shall be first.
Come on.
Does that go in?
There you go. You tie it in. What's going on, dude?
Dude, thank you for joining me, man. And I've been literally just so amazed at the journey,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
God's been doing through you.
Yeah.
And I just want you to tell people what's going on.
Yeah.
Who are you? What do you do?
Man.
Get us up to date, man.
Dude, all right. So, Canvas.
Yep.
And I'm originally born in Chicago,
Okay.
Illinois. And right now, me and my wife, we reside, along with our daughter, we reside in Indiana. But I grew up, man, in a very musical family, right?
Yeah.
Coming from a very musical background.
Mhm.
We had like two primary staples in our house.
Yeah.
One, we believed that God was always present.
Yeah.
Music is always playing.
Okay.
Okay, so that's kinda how-
There's no fried chicken in that.
Yeah, right.
No.
So God being always present meant
Yeah.
that I was exposed to the marvelous message of the gospel. Music always playing meant like I was also being taught how to moonwalk,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
So you get the gospel and
Yeah.
you know how to moonwalk,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
so that was just kind of my upbringing. Fast forward, I started to fall in love with DJing right around maybe 6 years ago.
Okay.
Got into the industry of weddings and started learning how to DJ weddings, work crowds, and it gave me what weddings did. It gave me an opportunity to get in front of people and also to learn how to perform and how
Yeah.
to be on the microphone, how to make eye contact, how to relate with people from multiple different backgrounds.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just like, hey, you had an African-American couple. No, there were white couples, Indian couples. And so it gave me a chance to not only be able to be creative, but to also learn how to perform. And so I started doing that. And I was just like, okay, I don't just want to do weddings. I want to be able to get to these bigger stages. Like, how do we get to Lollapalooza? How do we
Yeah.
get to the lost lands of the world? Like, how do we get to the Grammy stages, right? And so I'm like, all right, Lord, how do I do this? And so I started kind of doing these videos, Instagram, TikTok.
Yeah.
Started just mixing, and I started these things called illegal mashups, where I would take like a Paramore and put it behind a Ludacris track.
Okay.
Right, and I would bridge these two songs together, these two genres together that were not supposed to be there. And they started just taking off, man. People started like, yo, this is different. This is fresh.
I see what you did there.
Come on.
See what you did.
Come
Yep,
on, this is
yep,
fresh.
Absolutely. Fresh
All right?
stories.
And so people started saying, man, this thing is fresh. And next thing you know, my Instagram following went from like 100 followers maybe in a week to maybe 300. And then you start seeing these leaps and bounds of people coming in. So it was start at 500, and then it would be 1,000.
Wow.
And then it was from 1,000 to 2,000.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing this like exponential growth happening so fast. And so that's kind of how things started taking off for me, man. And next thing you know, we went from having a steady 100, maybe 50,000 followers last year
Yeah.
to like currently being at like over 500,000 this year.
Wow.
And so that's just been the trajectory we've been on. Is, man, God has been blowing this thing up.
Yeah.
Still doing mixes and mashups and doing what I love doing. Just continue to keep creating.
Yeah.
So that's kind of been that's been the story, man. That's the short story.
That's a short story.
Yeah.
We're gonna get to the real story though.
Yeah.
Ready?
Yeah. Let's do it.
So like this wasn't an overnight thing,
Nah.
right?
Nah.
Like you've done probably all of this before while working another job,
Yes.
right? Like how were you
Yes.
able to balance the two? Like was it frustrating? Like
For
what was
sure.
it like?
For sure. I think that's the crazy part about this is like I went from working a 40-hour work week,
Yeah.
Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, and when I was DJing, I would have to DJ on the weekends. So it felt like I was not only working Monday through Friday, but Monday through Saturday, and then also serving at my church. So whether it was worshiping and playing for my church, or if I was having to sing or run sound, so it felt like I was working Sunday to Sunday, really. And I remember like even having this conversation with my wife, like, hey, I'm going to be working a lot. You know, when I started to take on all of this responsibility, but I knew that it was something that God had called me to do, and I was like, hey, babe, are you with me in it, right? Because I'm going to need your support. I'm going to need you to help me balance, for lack of a better word. I'm going to need you to help me balance this. And she was like, man, if you believe that this is what God has called you to do, the goal is to go in, and I know you're working the 40-hour work week now, but I'm going to be in faith with you that God's going to take us from you having to do that 40-hour work week to you being able to do what it is that you want to do, that God has put you on this earth to do full time.
Yeah.
And that's why you need people in your corner.
You need a road dog. That's a
Come
road
on,
dog. That's a
on.
person that's like ride or die.
You know what I'm saying? Like, look, that's what you need.
Yeah.
Because it would have been very difficult for me to do that, and it really was. It was a hard time because once again, as a DJ, especially in weddings, you're working predominantly a 10-hour day. Right. And so that Saturday is gone. The day that you would normally have to spend with family and to watch movies, play video games, do all of those things with your family, that day is gone. And so I remember my wife saying at this particular time I was making a certain amount, and she was like, yeah, we're not gonna be able to do it for that. So I'm gonna need you to go in, and I need you to learn the craft, and I need you to become the best at what it is that you do, so that way you can get paid the value of where I see you. And so I literally would come home, and from my 40-hour work weeks, I would come home and I would spend 3 hours in my little studio room. And it wasn't even a studio room. It was just a room that I had in my basement.
Yeah.
And I had no lights, no TV, no nothing. All I had was my gear, my sound gear. And I'm spending quality time learning how to mix and how to match BPMs, understanding what phrasing is, understanding wordplay, understanding, even teaching myself how to scratch, like those things. I put the time and the energy in. So you spend, you do that over so many years. And I started that back in 2018.
Wow.
So I've done over 300 weddings at this point. Yeah, that's more weddings than most people will go to in their lifetime.
Oh, I hope so.
You understand? Like,
absolutely.
So doing over 300 weddings, you put over 1,000 hours a week into or 2 weeks into refining your craft.
Yeah.
Right? And it was something I loved doing, so I could spend hours doing it. To the point where my wife would have to pull me away and say, hey, it's time to eat. It's time to eat. Or it's time to go to bed. Our daughter's got to go to bed in the morning. You can't keep making all of this noise.
All this noise
right now.
Yeah.
And so that's the story that most people don't see, is the time and the energy and the headaches, the lack of a better word, the arguments of me and wifey having to go back and forth. And I'm like, babe, I'm trying to do this, and I'm trying to do this for my family and do all of these things. And so people don't see that side. What they see is the overnight success of kind of like, oh my gosh, this guy went from this to that. And it's like, but there was this buffering time
absolutely
of refinement that I had to go through. And not just in refinement of gift, but also in character.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it had to be something that was refined over time, that there were certain things that 2018 me could not handle in 2023. Right? There are certain things that I was not able to comprehend, or I didn't know certain language and certain things to say, or how to say, or how to display certain things. And so I believe that God was just kind of taking me on this trajectory to learn and grow in character development and also skill development.
I love that, man, because as you talk about the journey, you're absolutely right. We see the social media part of it, right? We see the numbers increase. We're seeing all of that stuff.
Yeah.
But we don't really hear much about the cost.
Yeah.
Right? There is a cost
Yes.
to some of this stuff, right? One of my prayers is that, man, God, lengthen my days so I can fit more in that day.
Yeah.
And that's what you were doing. You're probably getting up early.
Yes.
Going to bed later.
Yes.
There was a cost to that. You probably missed out on some moments.
Yeah. Well, I'm not an early riser.
You're not early? What?
So I am a night owl.
Okay. Yeah.
So I was staying up later, right? I was staying up later.
Waking up later.
And then waking up later. Okay. And so but that was me. Yeah. There was some people don't really take the time to add up the costs.
Yeah.
To the call. Like, you can be called to do something, but you also have to look at, all right, what is this going to cost me? To say yes to something means that I'm saying no to something else, and vice versa.
Yeah.
And so, yes, that's the part that most people, when they get into things, and that's why you have to be very careful about what you see and what you take in via social media.
Yeah.
Because social media gives you the highlight reel.
They do.
It gives you the highlight reel, but it doesn't give you the days I've been practicing in the gym.
Yeah. Yeah. I've seen you in the gym, so I can attest to that. Man,
so you know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about.
All right, cool.
But there's this element though. There's this thing that what you're doing. You're creating a bridge,
Yes.
right? We talked about this several times
Yes.
privately between faith and
Yes.
community, right?
Yes.
You're bridging the gap.
Yes.
And what I love about your videos, I hear Canvas, little plug there.
Come on.
But your videos, the people in the comments,
Yes.
you're talking about it all the time. The likes are great,
Yes.
right? The views are great.
Yeah.
But it's the comment section of
Yeah.
people like, man, I don't even go to church.
Yes.
But if you have a church, I'm going.
I'm going. Right? Where's the next party? Where is Canvas going to be at?
Right.
And I mean, there's what I love about the platform that God has graced me to have is it feels like it's like a dinner table that you could bring multiple different people, multiple different backgrounds, black, white, Hispanic, it doesn't matter. Everyone's welcome at the table. They have a seat at the table. And I try to do my best to kind of go through. And for the most part, most of the comment section is okay.
They're pretty funny, man.
They're pretty funny, right? And we got a good bunch.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like for the most part, you see people that are really like engaged in what you got going on. And what it does is it opens up the door for us to have conversation.
Right.
And that's the beautiful side of the dinner table. Like if you think about going back when you were growing up, dinner table was the place where you could talk, have conversation, navigate things. And so the comment sections for me are where they are because it lets me know that people are engaged enough to say something. It's like, when you go into class and students don't participate.
Yeah.
That's the feeling of, like, for me, not having the comments kind of roll in. It's
Yeah.
Okay, we're here, but no one's really engaging.
Yeah.
And so that's where the beautiful side of the platform is. It's not so much in the likes and in the shares. Those things are great. But to see people engage and to say something that their voices matter.
Yeah.
Their opinions are welcomed here.
Absolutely.
And I believe that God has He's allowed me to have this tough skin to be able to take the criticism or to take some tweaks here and to do those things and to be able to see those comments and be able to say, like, all right, cool, I can take that, take a hit on the chin and be okay and keep moving because I'm not so caught up in the social media side of things.
Okay.
Where I just take myself too seriously.
Yeah.
I kind of the way in which I approach social media is very. I kind of like allow God to have that and not hold on to it so tightly.
Yeah.
Like it's the end all be all because it's not.
I want to poke into that, right? I want to
Okay.
jump
Pride.
and poke into that.
Snatch
right?
that up.
Right. I want to snatch that up.
Snatch that up.
So as you talk about numbers and likes and comments, it's hard because technically you can say you're an artist, you're an influencer, you're a producer, and so as an influencer you can get very caught up in the likes and the comments and the share. Like this video didn't perform well as your other video. You can be like, man, what did I do wrong in this? But you say you kind of gave that to God. It had to be a process, though, right?
Yeah, that's for me. You're talking about the mental health side of this that I also don't get to share a lot about, and it's really dear to my heart. Because if you're not careful, your identity is found in likes, comments, and shares.
Yeah.
Instead of your identity being found in God. And this is where you got to bridge the gap between faith and community because you can have the community, but if you don't have the faith to be the foundation of it, when that community turns on you, now you're like, what did I do wrong?
Yeah.
What did I do wrong? What was my issue like? And then you start to internalize everything. Do I look good? Is it because I'm black, or is it because I'm this, or I'm not tall enough, or I'm not as buff as Josh, right? Like, you know what I'm saying?
100%, yeah, I completely understand.
You know what I'm saying? You start to second guess yourself.
Right.
You're like, I need to get back in the gym more.
Right.
You know?
That may not be a bad idea. But keep going. I digress.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, like, if you're not careful, your identity can become so, instead of you being a human being, you become a human doing. And so for me, like, I'm like, all right, no, I remember finding myself in a place before anybody knew who I was while I was doing these weddings and different things of that sort. And I'm like, God, no one's really seeing me outside of the wedding sphere.
Yeah.
The wedding circle. And I remember, like, I know I'm built for bigger stages. I know that there are things that you've called me to do that are just outside of weddings. These are great. They take care of the bills, and I'm meeting new people. I'm able to network. I'm able to perform every weekend. But God, I know that there's something greater. And it was like, and of course, because God is who He is, and He's a promise-keeping God, He's going to say, yeah, no, there's greater. However, I need to develop you before we get here. And so a part of that is you being on the backside of the mountain, Moses, right?
Yeah,
Or,
yeah,
sometimes I got to hide you, Elijah, so that way you can develop and then we can get to the mountaintop. And so I remember being in my basement and being at home and like feeling unseen, feeling unheard, feeling like my purpose was like it was just I just wasn't tapping into purpose. I was working jobs that I wasn't really happy at.
yeah,
Because I knew, once again, when you know that there's something greater, but you don't know how to get there,
yeah,
you don't have a
yeah,
community of people to help navigate and all of those things, and so you internalize so much.
yeah.
And I remember falling into like this pocket of depression, and my mood would change because of these mood swings I was having. And one day I'm up and I'm really energetic, and then other days I'm down, and I don't know why. It just happens.
Yeah.
And I remember having a come to Jesus moment. It just happens, right? Because when you don't know what else to do, my mama say, listen, when you don't know what else to do,
Yeah.
you need to go back
Open that word.
open that word.
Yes.
See what the Lord is saying, right? Find out where you left him.
Yeah.
Because at some point you maybe had moved out of the path of which God had called you to be.
Absolutely.
And so I remember going to go seek for God. And the beautiful thing about him is he says that if you seek me, you'll find me. And I remember seeking him one day, and what I mean by that is, one day I was like, all right, let me tap into my word because I was feeling super down, and I opened up my Bible. It automatically flips to Proverbs 3, and it says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your path." It's a lot to process in all of that, but the main thing that I take out of that is not to lean on my own understanding.
Yeah.
And in all of my ways, acknowledge him.
Yeah.
Just the acknowledgement that God is who he is and what he said that he would do, that he's faithful to perform it.
Yeah.
To acknowledge that he is Lord, that he is Savior, that he is Master, and that he's in control. For me, a part of overcoming this addiction to people's opinions started at my place of surrender.
Yeah.
To knowing that God is in control and not Malcolm, not
Yeah.
Canvas. And when I let go of the control freak, right? My innate ability to want to control everything, right? And I said, God, I surrender this to you, and I'm not going to lean on what I think I know. I'm going to depend solely on you. I remember God just telling me, he spoke to me and he said, okay, got you. Now that you've surrendered, here's what I want you to do. I want you to create your way out.
Yeah.
And I said, what does that mean?
Right.
What do you want me to do?
Is this another parable? What's going on?
Yeah, what is this, another parable? What do you
Yeah.
mean by that? When you get still enough, man, and you are able to let God, you calm all the noise down of the world and finances and all of the things, man. You calm all of that down, and God he said, I want you to create your way out. And I said, okay. But God, you're in control. He says, yeah, I'm in control. But now that you know that, now that you've acknowledged that, now I need you to create your way out. I put something in your hands. I put something on the inside of your life that is a gift. I need you to work that gift.
Wow.
I need you to begin to create your way out. And that was literally last year.
Man, dude, when I listen to your story, a couple things come to my mind. I see, number one, visibility does not determine your value.
Come on.
So even when people didn't see you when you were starting, you're still just as valuable as you were then as you are now.
Yes.
And then two, even in your performance, man, I'll be honest with you, I see the identity really being shaped in Christ, and not by the audience.
Yes.
Your first event that you did with me, I remember you coming on stage and you were dancing, you were moving.
Yes.
And I looked at the audience and they weren't moving at all.
Yeah.
They were sitting there.
Yeah.
They're trying to figure out what was going on.
Yes.
Why is this guy doing the Running Man, on the stage? They're trying to figure that out. But what I love, you had this conductor mindset, right? The conductor, he's performing the orchestra, conducting it. But he does not see what's going on behind him. He doesn't see if the audience is vibing with it. He doesn't see if they're like standing up. He doesn't see or hear any of that. Because he's so focused on his mission, conducting the orchestra. I see that in your performance.
Thank you.
You're so grounded in who you are and who God's called you to be.
Yeah.
You've been able to not worry about the crowd.
Yes.
And knowing that the crowd will catch up to what God is doing.
Yes, man. So how many times as artists, you're focused on how crowd is responding, right? Because you think everything is surrounded around this audience, right? Or crowd reaction.
Yeah.
And I had to learn that I perform for an audience of one. as a creative, if you can get to that place to understand that you first, if I can get God out of his seat, that's all I want to do. I want to get God out of his seat and say, that's my boy. At that point, I leave everything that I have on the table because, and then not only going a step further, Josh, like not looking for what I can get out of this audience, but what I can give to them.
Yeah.
I'm not looking to necessarily get them out of their seats. I want to give them an opportunity. I want to give them an experience to be able to step into.
Yeah.
And then experience God's joy.
Yeah.
His love, his mercy, his peace. So when you go in like that, it doesn't matter if you're in your seat or if you're standing.
Yeah.
If you are in this atmosphere, you're going to have an encounter. And you may not even know, like, and that's for the believer, unbeliever. That's for anybody that comes to a show.
Right.
They don't necessarily know what's happening. All they know is like, man, I feel good. I feel light.
Yeah.
You know, so that's my approach to it, man. It's not looking at what I can get from this audience. So there are times like in you know, like I'll get to a specific venue.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I like to do is like I get to the venue and I like to just sit before anybody else is in the auditorium or
absolutely.
in the facility. I like to just kind of go and I like to sit where the audience is going to sit. And I kind of just take in what does the audience need? What are they coming for? What are they coming to see?
Yeah.
Who are they coming to hear?
Yeah.
What do they need? Because when you can identify the need of the people, man, and you go into looking to serve people, it's going to be a success no matter what. Success begins at being a servant. So like I look at not how well did the crowd respond, but how well did I serve them?
Yeah.
And to that degree, it was a success.
Yeah, and that's a paradigm shift, right?
Yes.
Because now it's how can I serve any group I come in contact with?
Yes.
How can I serve your social media following that has grown? And right now it's been over a year now, so how can you serve your team?
Yes.
Like you have a team around you now, right?
Yeah.
And literally
That's new.
You're literally building a plane while you're flying it, right? You talk about all the time, you're like, we're trailblazing.
We're the Wright brothers.
We're the Wright brothers,
Yeah.
right? You're trailblazing this entire thing.
Yeah.
And when you're trailblazing something and you leave what's comfortable to go to something else, it's a little scary, right? A little fear comes into play.
Absolutely. I feel, you know, it's like, all right, I love being able to be creative and do what I do. Put me in front of anybody, we're going to have a good time.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you tell me to have to lead a team full of people. I'm like, oh, who does what? Where do you go? What?
Right.
Taxes,
Right.
payroll, right? Like there are things that come on. And so now I believe, and you know, I'm like, God, can you just give me all the things I need before you launch me out here in the deep?
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I'll provide it while you're out in the deep.
Wow.
I'll listen, because I don't want you to get so caught up in what you know and then you begin to lean back on your understanding.
Yeah.
This is, once again, if you're bridging faith and community, a part of it has to be, it's got to have some faith in it.
Absolutely.
It's got to have some faith components. So if I give you all the details, then you'll cease to have faith that I'm still in control.
Yeah.
And that I am the one that's going to take care of you and your team.
Yeah.
And what you don't know, I'll send. So I'm like, all right, that's where the faith part comes in for me, bro.
Absolutely.
That's where it's like, I got to continue. It's a daily surrender. It's a daily like, God, I don't know what I'm doing. And he says that's a great place to be.
Yeah, man, because you're moving.
Yes.
And your team is growing by you moving.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know who your manager is, but he sounds incredible.
Yeah.
Your manager sounds amazing.
He's an amazing guy.
He's an amazing guy from what I hear, right? I hear great things.
He's an awesome dude. Even though he gets fired every week.
he keeps coming back.
Consistency. Okay?
That's exactly what
Faithfulness.
that is. That's exactly what that is. But I remember the scriptures, you know, like how the disciples came along.
Yeah.
Jesus was passing through.
Yeah.
The Bible always talks about he was passing by.
Yes.
So he was always on the move.
Yes.
I think sometimes you want God to be like, boom, put everything in us.
Yep.
We want to be everything to everybody.
Yes.
But he's like, man, if I do that for you.
Yeah.
So Canvas, if I make you the creative and also the business person, then what's the need for a community?
Yeah.
I want you to have that.
Faith and community.
Absolutely.
How is it that I can once again have the faith, have all of the things that I need, and then once again I don't have the community around me?
Correct.
to help me sustain this thing. You know?
You have to be on the outside what you're on the inside.
Come on, man.
So if your group isn't a strong community, then how can you create that outside?
Come on, man.
And a lot of things we're trying to create things that aren't there.
I'm trying to pass the offering bucket. Where's the offering bucket?
Right? How many times have we seen that?
Yeah.
With a lot of people, God put an amazing mission on their hearts for them to do.
Yeah.
And the struggle is what God's called them to do, they're not yet.
Yeah.
And so it causes identity crisis because I'm preaching something that technically I'm not practicing.
Come on.
And what I love about the culture in this team that you're creating, they're all speaking the same language because it's so ingrained that community is getting closer. You're doing life with one another, which allows every event that you go to, people remark on that. Man, Canvas, you're amazing, but your team was also incredible
your
too.
Culture, yes. Like, so I'm really heavy on a few things. There's culture, community, compensation.
Yeah.
Okay? You take care of them 3 parts
Yeah.
of your team, things are going to be good. So I'm really big on the culture. I'm really big on culture to make sure that I am, that we're setting the tone, setting the atmosphere. As a DJ, you create the atmosphere.
Yeah.
You create the atmosphere for folks to be able to step in, people to step in and be able to experience that experience. So I'm like, all right, I want to be able to do that when people come aboard our team, that they experience the culture.
Yeah.
They experience the love, the joy, the transparency. They experience the peace. Like, this shouldn't feel like work. What we get to do, what we get to do should feel like, man, this is the greatest honor to be able to do this and to do it with people I enjoy doing it with.
Absolutely, man.
Right? It'd be like, I would hate to like open up the Bible and you just see like Jesus like, yeah, man, I just hate working with Peter. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just had to bring him along because it was what my father told me to do. No, he genuinely enjoyed the people that he was around. He enjoyed and specifically found them working.
Yeah.
Right? He found them moving as well. And so it's like when you find people that are moving at the same pace, same rate, going after God, and the big thing here, understanding kingdom.
Absolutely.
Right? Understanding what we're doing is kingdom work.
Absolutely.
Yes, we want to reach the lost. We want to reach those that are broken, the widows, the orphans of the world. Yeah, and we want to make sure that it's done kingdom.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so that's the big part of our culture, is like understanding what it means. What does doing kingdom business look like?
Yeah.
Right? That not everything is for the dollar.
Right.
Some of it is for the community and the connections.
Absolutely.
Or there's certain things that we may have to say no to because it doesn't align with the kingdom.
Right.
And what we want to do in our mission. And so that's a really big part of the Canvas culture. The Canvas team is like, all right, anything that we do, we're going to, number one, submit it unto God. We're going to make sure that everything that we do is surrendered to God. Every contract we pray, I'm praying over these contracts. I'm praying over, God, is this what you want me to do? Is this where you want us to go? And so that we maintain that foundation and that integrity.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I love that. I love that. I'm a Georgia Bulldog fan. I don't know if you knew this. I'm a crazy Georgia Bulldog fan.
Okay.
And I heard this amazing quote from the coach. He said, this guy had a personal foul, right? He was taunting.
Okay.
He said, I spoke to him. I told him he put him above the mission. And at this school, we do mission, team, then you. I feel that when it comes to the Canvas culture, it's mission, team, then you.
Yes.
And as we look towards the future, what does the future look like for Canvas Entertainment?
Man, well, we're definitely doing a tour.
Definitely doing a tour?
Definitely doing a tour.
Okay.
2024.
Yeah.
There's a tour coming.
Okay.
We're trying to see how many cities we want to do.
Okay.
But we are coming to a city.
Near you.
And so that's definitely one of the bigger things that are on our list to do, because I believe that that's where God is kind of just taking us, where he's like, you're pioneering something different, which means that there's going to be a new experience for people to be able to come out and party. And that's the thing, is like, I wouldn't necessarily call it a tour. I want to call it like a party. I want to call it like a Canvas house party.
Yeah.
We show up at a venue. We do a 2-hour, hour and a half house party. We have fun. We celebrate. We bring awareness to certain things. Like that's kind of what I see. So that's definitely for 2024. We have a few different gigs too as well that we already got lined up. I know that F.R.E.S.H is something like that's happening.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Fort Wayne, Indiana.
In Fort Wayne,
July
Indiana.
27th.
Hey, shameless plug.
Shameless plug.
You know what I'm saying? So we got a few things that are on the horizon. And then also Rebridge, right? A Rebridge Foundation, our non-for-profit.
Absolutely.
Different things that are coming up in 2024. So that's what I'm excited for, being able to launch the team.
Yeah.
So that way, we can move as a fully functioning Voltron.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Look at you.
Yeah.
I see you out
all
here.
The parts coming together.
I love it. I love it.
You know what I'm saying? Avengers Assemble.
Yep.
Assemble the Avengers in 2024. Go tour, man.
Okay.
Drop some music.
Yeah.
So
where can people right now, they're listening right now, like they want to hear your stuff, where can they find you?
So I'm pretty much everywhere. So YouTube, Bandcamp, SoundCloud. I'm not Spotify, Apple Music yet because we have to we get some clearance for them.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? That's how that works. Copyright stuff.
Get it.
All right.
Understand.
But so I Hear Canvas on any of those platforms. Put some things up on YouTube for people to be able to go and experience. But Bandcamp, SoundCloud. They can follow me on IG, TikTok. What else is out there?
I think you're on Facebook too, right?
I'm on Facebook.
You're on Facebook.
Yeah, my Facebook audience is going there. So I Hear Canvas.
Yep.
And so man, that's where.
Dude, well, thank you for joining me, man. I appreciate
Anytime,
you, man.
bro.
Absolutely.
Thank you for having me.
Dude, first guest.
Come on.
First podcast.
Did I do good?
You did pretty well.
Okay, cool.
We'll edit some, but you did pretty great.
That's cool. edit all my bad stuff.
I love it, man. I love it. So if you love this podcast, well, please like, share, tell your friends. We want to do fresh stories. Fun, real, engaging, simple, heartfelt.
It's gonna be fresh.